Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 14th of May 2024 and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with the elections that have been going on in India since quite some time. The fourth phase of these general elections ended yesterday in 96 seats across 9 states and 1 union territory. Now the further dates that are going to happen late are going to be on the 20th, the 25th of May and on the 1st of June. The final results will be announced on the 4th of June. A lot of question marks emanate as far as the whole elections in India are concerned, whether it be to put a stamp on India's autocratic rule, whether it be to stem out all kinds of opposition to the BJP one way or the other, whether it be by incarcerating the opposition leaders in jail or trying to suspend their bank accounts or through other maneuverings, whether it be to appease the Hindu majority in India at the expense of the Muslims that are also 200 million plus within India and in India illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The result is quite evident. At the same time, we also see why the Modi's BJP did not feed any candidate in the Kashmir elections that happened yesterday. In Jammu, yes, but not in Kashmir. And we know the reasons what they are. We will be discussing different aspects of that and more in our first segment. Our second story concerns day 221 of the Israel-Palestine war, genocide, ethnic cleansing. Although the White House says that what is happening in Palestine cannot be considered as genocide, Israeli tanks, bulldozers and armored vehicles continue to surround evacuation zones and shelters in Jabalia. The fact is also that the proper aid is not coming out into Palestine because of the Rafah crossing being under control of Israel and completely closed. Also, the number of casualties have crossed past 35,000, around 35,170, while 79,000 have been wounded. And this does not count those who have been under the rubble or who will be found in the coming days. The expectation is that the number is going to far exceed these numbers that we have just discussed with you. At the same time, there's still some kind of a hope, a very feeble hope in the form of the negotiations that are going on that countries in the Middle East are mediating, but whether it leads to something concrete is another thing altogether. But will Israel undergo the Rafah ground invasion as it has been talking about? What could be the repercussions is what a lot of countries in the region are extremely concerned about. This and more will be discussed in our second segment. Then we are going to discuss Melinda Gates, who has left her non-profit organization Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This foundation is now just going to be known as the Gates Foundation. The fact is also that this philanthropist Melinda French Gates announced she was leaving the non-profit organization she had established with her husband Bill Gates. This has become one of the most influential NGOs across the world and of course has had a very strong impact on different countries across the world, including in Pakistan. Finally, a barber is using his client's hair to create art. An Iraqi barber, Hussein Fali, has been turning heads online, not much so for the way he cuts the hair, but he does exactly with the hair, as you can see in the parallel window. He is creating art with the client's hair, and this is something that is extremely unique to him. We'll be discussing that as part of our last story. Let's begin with our first, and that concerns Indian elections, the fourth phase of which has ended. Yesterday, 3 more phases are left, and the final results will be announced on the 4th of June. What are exactly the Indian elections? What is the BJP achieving or trying to achieve through these elections? We've been joined by Dr. Asma Shakir Khuwaja, Executive Director, CISS, Azad Jammu and Kashmir. She's right here with us in the studios after a hiatus for around 2 years. Thank you very much, Dr. Asma Shakir Khuwaja, to have joined us. Welcome to in the studios live after a long time. Let's begin without further ado. Strict restrictions have been imposed on the freedom of expression during the elections in occupied Kashmir. We saw that before the elections, we saw that during the elections as well. Now, the People's Democratic Party's Wahid Para says people in Kashmir are afraid to talk because all agencies have been ordered to silence us. He says due to the crackdown, the media does not write, the bar is silent, and all our forums have also been closed. UAPA charges are imposed on those who talk in Kashmir. Is the Modi government afraid of the truth coming out of this region, especially during the election time?
Definitely. Mr. Para also said that if you talk about how great Delhi government in Delhi is, that is allowed, but when you talk about the issues of illegally Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir, that is not allowed. So, I wonder that on what election manifestos BJP or BJP government allowed public or political parties to participate in the elections. And yes, BJP party under Modi is afraid of to know that what and how Kashmiri think about the activities of BJP in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and that is why BJP is not contesting the elections as a party in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. This is one, because when if BJP would participate and lose the elections, what face saving BJP would have, especially when they are claiming most of their false claims. This is one of the claim that the Kashmiris are very happy with the revocation of Article 370, but at the same time the restrictions on freedom of speech, freedom to participate, freedom to choose their own election candidates, all these restrictions manifest that how BJP is afraid that people should not show what they actually believe in, and that is why they are trying. And you know, election rigging is only one part of rigging. The pre and post election rigging phases are also very important, and for last 2-3 years since 2019 we are seeing that how pre-election rigging BJP is involved in. They are trying to inflict demographic changes, redesigning constituencies, trying to reduce, not trying, actually they passed the bill to reduce the seats of from Muslim areas in the Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir. They increased the Hindu vote bank. They are changing the demography of the Kashmir by bringing in Hindus to Kashmir, so that the Muslim majority state can be converted into Hindu majority, and then BJP would participate in the election when they would have this. And then BJP, all those states which are suffering from the aggressive, violent policies of BJP under Modi, in all of those states, BJP is really afraid to know what people think about those policies, whether it is Manipur or Kerala or even Delhi and Jammu and Kashmir. All those states, there are several states for this reason, Bengal, but BJP is really afraid to know that, and this is what I would say. BJP is a party which creates a bubble of disinformation, then they start believing in it and start living in that bubble of false news. So, this is their problem. They are not ready, even if international community or international organization they say something which is not convenient to their ears, the ears of BJP. They immediately refute it, deny it, and they go in a denial phase and then create their own truth. For example, when India is declared an electoral autocracy, Modi announces to, or Modi gave a project to Observer Research Foundation India to create their own indicators to measure the quality of democracy. When we see in international scene, that looks stupidity, because countries don't create their on formulas. When and like when we study as well, we go by the international acknowledged formulas to study science and social sciences and theories. We don't create our own changes which can convert those things in our favor. So, this is the, I think, the height of denial. And when Modi or BJP or India under Modi and BJP declared as a state involved in cross border terrorism, violating the sovereignty of developed areas and countries, and a mass murderer at international level, and their agencies were targeted for that, but even then they are in sense of denial instead of looking into their weaknesses, and very easily or conveniently they say, oh, the rogue elements in those sensitive organization committed that. And if, like, internationally accepting that your sensitive, strategically sensitive and important organization organizations have rogue elements, that is, I think, height of irresponsibility and question mark on the stability, command, control, safety of all the strategic initiatives by India.
I agree with you on that. You talked of bubbles, living in bubbles. A lot of Indian publications have also recently burst the bubble of the BJP, including The Wire. We also had Wall Street Journal that talked about it, but that was an international publication. The Wire India talks about Kashmir and also talks about different inaccuracies as far as the whole election campaign, and of course the Indian point of view as well as the BJP's narrative as far as Kashmir is concerned. That has not worked, specifically vis-a-vis the elections. Does the world understand the reality that India is trying to portray to the world, that it is all fabricated, that it is all false, and it is based on narratives that are completely far from reality?
In strategic studies, we have deception is always one of the most important tool to win a war. But unfortunately, Modi regime has apparently they believe in deception as the only tool to win a war, whether it is a tangible or intangible war, overt or covert war. So whatever they try to fabricate, they forgot that now, because of the technological advancement, international community have scientific tools and measures to see, to judge, to evaluate that whether those claims are right or wrong and how fabricated they are. For example, when India said that we are, as a state, we are not involved in extraterritorial killings, international community presented the documents, complete investigations to them, and that and those investigation reports were by individual countries and by a consortium of those countries. And even now, after seeing all those documents, which is of course telling the truth on their face, they only said that okay, we will look into it. But responsible states don't do it internationally. You see, when in 2019 international organizations were raised red flags that India is diverting into a dictatorship, going into a dictatorship under Modi, then we were also talking here that how international community would react to that. But now we see that in domestic politics of India, in contemporary elections, India's fall into autocracy, India's adherence to the this dictatorship rules is one of the strongest electoral agendas of the opposition party. And we see, I asked few of Indian scholars that are you going to vote, and they categorically said that no, these are not free and fair elections, they have nothing to do with democracy, so we are not interested in voting.
And that is why the voter turnout is less compared to the previous elections.
Less, and when Modi says that this time they will win 400 seats of Lok Sabha, then how come, if he is so sure and elections are free and fair, how come there is around, I think, 38% voting turnout right now? So how come the vote, if people are so happy with the regime, they should go to prohibit, to refrain, to stop any chance of any other party winning the election or defeating BJP. So the voter turnout should be at least 60%, so that they can save the Masiha BJP party to run the India. But this is really sad. And when during this election campaign, when few politicians like Farooq Abdullah, like Manishankar Iyer tried their feeble try to knock some sense in the heads of Hindutva radicals, when they say that when the negotiations are the only way to resolve conflicts between two nuclear armed neighbors, how even Modi, not any Tom, Dick, Harry from BJP, Modi himself is mocking them, how he is making fun of them, and how he is instigating the aggressive behavior in Indian public, and like denying the fact that nuclear war, nuclear clash is a zero-sum game. No one would live to celebrate the victory. This is the reality. And when some sane politicians tried to convey this to Indian public, BJP refuted even that so what? Nukes, so what? And that comes from from Indian strategic culture. And Indian strategic culture says that weapons of mass destruction is the only way to destroy your enemy, because it emphasizing on destroying enemy completely. And when we see this BJP's act, the anti-Muslim campaign, all these things, they are only manifestation of 3,000 years old Indian strategic culture. It is nothing new in it. But this time, like when people used to say that, oh, in civilized world, who would talk about 3,000 years old history and how they would get back to Chanakya Kautya's or Vedas. But today you see that Vedas are even being quoted in by BJP in Indian electoral campaigns, and they use the sayings, quotations from Vedas to justify their today's action. So just imagine if the, like in 3,000, 4,000 years, human mind is evolved, technology has changed so many realities, but even then BJP has refused to move forward from that lockup and to see or take Indian public to a more civilized world. Rather, they are reverse, they have a gear which is reversing them back to the Stone Ages when it comes to civilization and cultural learning.
All right. Another thing that India, specifically the BJP, hasn't stopped doing is use the Pakistan card. It has used the Pakistan card in false flag operations. It has used the Pakistan card whenever it has seen some kind of turmoil within India, blaming on Pakistan, and then it ridicules Pakistan. I'd like to, with due respect and reverence, quote something that he said recently. He said, if Pakistan does not wear bangles, we will make the country wear. These are new. They do not have food grains. Now I come to know they don't even have adequate supply of bangles. During an election rally in Bihar's Muzaffarpur, this is what he said on Monday, that is yesterday. How do you see the Pakistan-India outlook if BJP continues to stay in power?
I always say that the problem is we try to find rationality in the irrationality of BJP, because when radicalism enters, rationality leaves. So right now the way it is so, one feels so small when without any reason they are using name of a neighboring country to instigate people to vote for them, because that country, and again that leads to the thought of Indian strategic culture that threat always rises from the west, and Pakistan and India, Pakistan is on the east of India, but it is and basically threat always rises from the north, because this area culturally is called northern subcontinent. So this is in their mindset, and that is what Modi is trying to exploit. But this is really unfortunate that on one side BJP, Modi claim that their threat is some other countries as their threat, their competence, they are in competition with other countries in the west, and Modi in several such cases he said that Pakistan is not even our competition. Then ironically Pakistan, their only Pakistan card is the only way for BJP to gain the sympathies of Hindu radical ignorant people and to force them and to push them to vote for BJP. They even said that if Congress would come to the power, in power, they will take away 50% wealth of Hindus and give it to Muslims. Can you believe that it is any sensible claim? But just look at the IQ of those BJP is focusing on. They want to exploit the ignorance and poverty of. I was listening to few radio and TV programs from India, and people were talking about that they should talk about employment, how they will give us employment and how they will reduce the inflation and all those real issues. But because BJP has failed to perform on real issues, they are using Muslim card, all those issues which are not the issue of common Indian, common Hindu. The issue of common Hindu is the economic progress, decrease in inflation, rise in employment ratio. This is what they need. But BJP is inflicting the threat of survival in their head. that forget about food and don't think about your empty stomachs, but think about Pakistan. We will save you from Pakistan. And it is Pakistan which is from 2005 again and again extended the hand of friendship to India. Pakistan again and again expressed its willingness for peaceful, meaningful talks with India, not at the cost of Kashmir, but definitely as a medium to resolve, amicably resolve all existing conflicts between India and Pakistan. But again, Indian strategic culture says when your neighboring country talks about peace, it is a sign of weakness. Weak countries go for peace, and under this mindset, India has some delusional idea that about Pakistan. And very interesting thing that whenever I tweet anything, Omar, it is ironic that how before Pakistanis, Indian trollers, they start writing something nasty, disgusting, embarrassing on my tweets. And this shows that how strong or strong Modi's propaganda mechanisms are, and how much money they have invested to create all the almost like a core of propagandist trollers which troll on the behalf of BJP government to everyone, whether it is Ashok Swine, you say anyone who talks about, who criticizes BJP or Modi regime, or writes some sense about India's electoral politics, they are badly trolled. It means BJP is actual investment is to establish, strengthen, create the disinfo labs they have all over the world.
Exactly. I think this is what we are going to see if the BJP comes back to power. And also, you know, the 10 years of the BJP have been full of lies and promises that have not been kept. And we see the different demonstrations that have been going on in different areas in India, whether it be the farmers, whether it be the other areas in India that are also saying that whatever has been promised to them has not been completed, those promises have not been fulfilled. So I don't know what's going to happen when the BJP comes back into power. Thank you very much, Dr. Asma Shakir Khuwaja. You've been a wonderful delight to talk about India. We always rely on you for important facts and figures and information when it comes to Kashmir, when it comes to India and its policies to destabilize the region, including Pakistan. Thank you very much, ma'am, to have joined us. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Palestine, day 221 of the assault of Israel on Palestine. We've been joined by Dr. Farah. She's a foreign affairs expert to discuss more on that. Farah, thank you very much to have joined us. It had been a while also that we had talked. Let's begin without further ado. United Nations chief condemns the killing of the first foreign staff member in Israel's war in Gaza. After Israeli forces fired on a UN car in Rafah, it has demanded a full investigation. Israel responds to this attack, which killed the UN employee and injured another, saying the pair were killed in an active combat zone. In a separate statement also, Mr. Guterres has said that more than 190 United Nations staff have been killed in Gaza since the war began. 35,173 people have been killed and around 79,061 wounded in the attacks on Gaza since the 7th of October last year. And the atrocities continue, and they continue, and they continue. To what end?
Well, thank you, Omar, for having me on your show. As you mentioned, that it continues, and we can't say there is a never-ending kind of, phenomena over here, where Israel is so adamant that it has to kill everyone in Gaza, and even it is very openly, Israel and Netanyahu is openly saying it, that flee from Rafah or face massacre. So they are very clear on what they want to do and how they want to do it. Now, the way you mentioned that there is foreigners also getting involved in the process of Israel bombarding Gaza, Rafah, and people over there. So I would say, since there are UN staff members who are helping and supporting, particularly from UNRWA, who are helping and supporting Palestinians in Gaza and in Rafah. And there is this refugee camp which is already put in place where Palestinians are taking refuge in that. So in all of that, the foreigners, they cannot escape. They will become a target of the Israeli bombardment in Gaza, unfortunately. But how to put an end to it, this is becoming a serious concern for everyone. except the West, because the West still stands by Israel and they support Israel in its ways and means of killing and massacring and like having a genocide in Gaza. If we talk about, like, I'm at the moment speaking to you from a Western country, but I can see the citizen over here and citizen in most of other Western countries, they are all against this genocide, and they are demanding their leadership that it's time to say no to supporting Israel, because this support to Israel is against humanity. And they are bringing all the basic definitions of human rights laws and humanitarian assistance and all of that, where when we say that they need, like, people in Gaza at the moment, and particularly those who are stranded in Rafah, they are in a very desperate situation where they want to either, like, even if they want to escape from that place, they cannot, because all the borders are shut down on them. If they need food, the food is not able to reach out to them. We have been hearing stories about that. There's a lot of a contamination of water is there, and lots of diseases are breaking out, and children are going through lots of problems where we could see potentially it will be leading further towards malaria and all those kind of diseases which will be affecting the life of people in Gaza. So in that context, all the citizens in the Western countries, they are demanding their leadership stop supplying weapons to Israel so this war can come to an end, or at least Israel understand that the Western allies are not supporting Israel in this war. But unfortunately, the leaders of all these countries, they are so strongly standing and supporting with Israel that nothing is happening. How long there will be this rift between citizens and the leadership, it will take some time, but by that time probably.
Dr. Farah, you just talked about different countries supplying arms, and I'd like to start with a little comment as far as the United States is concerned. The US concludes that it is reasonable to assess that US weapons provided to Israel have been used in Gaza in violation of international humanitarian law. Yet in the same report, the US says that Israel's assurances that it is not using US arms to commit abuses are credible and reliable, which allows Washington to continue sending weapons to its key ally in the Middle East. Isn't this an apparent contradiction?
Yes, it is contradiction to what America itself says and what the reports are coming out. Because in this age, which is the age of social media, nothing is hidden. Probably back in the 19th century, in the wars, whatever was happening, things were not publicized the way they are in the Gaza war. So I would say it's like both ways, where America is accepting and on the other side is denying as well. We can understand that Israel and America, they are closest buddies, they are the closest allies. And it's okay, we have no problem with they being closer to each other. But their closeness, if it is affecting the life of a third party, that's the major concern. That's where their own citizens are demanding that stop supplying weapons to them, because these weapons are going there. But America, at one point, who is caught red-handed, that those weapons have been, and the ammunition has been used in the war. But on the other side, they say, no, we are just providing them as a normal practice. So no, this is not a normal practice. Probably, I would say that they are buying time, and in that buying time kind of thing, where they are pleasing their people that we will try to not to support Israel in this war, or we do not want to stand with Israel, but this is how it is. And they are trying to provide some lame kind of excuses to their own people. But in the process, I would say many people are facing death. Many people are facing starvation. They are, if even they don't die with bullets, they are dying with diseases. They are dying under the rubble. They are dying with all the atrocities that is taking place in Gaza at the moment and in Rafah at the moment as well. So things needs to come to an end. But here, I would say that many aid agencies who are trying to provide food, medicine, and supplies and water to the people who are stranded over there, they are becoming the prime targets of the conflict at this stage. And the world needs to realize that if this is going to happen, what will be the nature of war in times to come? Because everybody will say, no, this is my ultimate objective, and they are my ultimate enemies, and I will kill them, or I will take my revenge. But at the revenge at the cost of this number of people, I think it is going to set new precedents for the war.
Also, let's talk about peace talks that are still happening as we speak. Qatar's Prime Minister was speaking at the Qatar's Economic Forum. He says ceasefire talks are deadlocked and Israel's operation Rafah has sent things backwards. He also added the following regarding the ceasefire talks, and I'd like to quote that. He says, when there are two parties who want to agree on something, you need to agree on the baseline first of all. I believe that what we are seeing is a fundamental difference between the two. There is one party who wants to end the war and then talk about the hostages. There is another party who wants the hostages and wants to continue the war. And as long as there is no commonality between these two things, it won't get us a result. What will happen to these talks?
Well, like when we say and talk about negotiations, negotiations are only possible when the parties are willing to listen to each other. So in this scenario where we can see Hamas is ready to leave the hostages and to free them, but at the cost of that Israel should stop the war. But Israel say, no, release the hostages, but I will not put an end to the war. So this means Israel is not ready and prepared to agree or to come to some sort of conclusion to put an end to the war. It takes me back to my initial thesis or my initial observation on this war, that is it all about, Israel being so angry with Hamas, or is it beyond it? To me, it is beyond it, because such kind of things we have never ever witnessed in the history of wars, where in the history of even conflicts, where whenever something happens, there's some kind of negotiation, third parties, they get involved and then they bring people to terms. But here, Israel is so adamant that no, I have to clean everybody and everything from Gaza, and then I have to rebuild it. So for rebuilding and cleaning Gaza from Palestinians, this is what Israel is doing. And I think Israel is following the way it has set a plan for itself, that how I'm going to do that. I will not listen to anyone, I will not take any pressure, and I will not abide by any laws as well. But Omar, here there is another serious concern that is prevailing in the Western world, where we could see Islamophobia and Zionism. They are facing each other, which is a very serious problem existing at the moment. And I think this is not something that anybody would wish for in the Western world. They don't want to see where Jews are getting threatened. Jews are very good people. It's not about Jews. It's about the Zionist ideology that is trying to, the Netanyahu is trying to take it and implement it in Gaza and the way the war is taking place. But Jews are becoming targeted. Muslims, they are becoming targeted. Christians are becoming targeted who support that Israel should stop the war. So this is leading towards a huge problem for the societies to exist in such kind of countries where their voices are getting subdued. And there is this one saying which I can frequently hear whenever I'm in the university or wherever I am, that from the river to the sea is the Palestine is going to be free. This particular slogan is considered as something anti-Semitism, but I don't know what is anti-Semitic to it. According to Zionists, according to Israel, this slogan itself means that they are trying to get rid of Israel, and they do not believe in Israel. So such kind of slogans are becoming a serious threat for all the students, all the citizens who are demanding to put an end to the war. But they say that no, we will bring reforms into the constitution and we will make this slogan something very, very popular, that it will be accepted worldwide, that from the river to the sea, the Palestine is going to be free. So these kind of new developments are coming up, which is shaping the politics, which is shaping the policy.
A lot of new developments are happening, and I agree with you on that, that the line between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism has been blurred deliberately to such an extent that you cannot say anything to criticize what is happening in Palestine without it being labeled as anti-Semitic. Now, I'd like to also, you talked about Israelis, I mean, I'd like to add to the right-wing extreme Israeli protesters that are setting afire, convoys that are bringing aid. The latest example is that of a Jordanian aid convoy that was coming, and it was stopped by these settlers and by these protesters and then set on fire, which reduces the aid that the Palestinian people need, whether it be in the form of food, water, or medicine. Can't the West and its allies do something at least about this, about stopping these protesters from, stopping and putting fire to the aid supplies that the Palestinians are in dire need of?
Omar, to me, you sound very innocent. If somebody is determined to kill you, will they feed you before killing you? No. They will throw the food right in front of you. I've seen this in movies. If somebody is thirsty and they are killing them, they just pour the water in front of them and never allow them to even to take a sip out of it. Same is happening in Gaza. Same is happening in the Palestine. The settlers and all those people who are there to make the life of the Gaza, of Palestinians difficult, they will do whatever they want to do. But the problem is where the international law is standing in all of this. Where is humanitarian law? Do they have to redefine all those basic clauses that they have set for the world? And for whom are those clauses set? Does this mean that those clauses, those laws are only meant to be where the Western world who are in power, whenever they want to use them against a certain set of people, they will use and apply them. But if they do not want to be used, so they will stop using them. So they have changed the entire, system at the moment, where the United Nations has become just like a dummy institution, a dummy organization who has no power, no privilege, no authority to decide what is happening. In case of this aid, which is the basic need of the Gazans at the moment, but they are not in a position to reach out, even the medicine. And as I said earlier, that we are in times to come, we will be hearing lots of diseases, a pandemic sort of or epidemic sort of diseases prevailing over there. And that will only be happening because there is no clean water available, there is no cleanliness standards prevailing over there, there is no medication available, and there is nothing which can stop them. So if there is even smell, and if there is the water is contaminated and it is affecting the life of the people, kids are getting affected with all those contaminated water. So what will be happening in times to come? This is what probably they are waiting for.
Farah, and this is a question that we will be seeing and witnessing as people of the world, and it is such a sorry state of affairs when I see that, and I really hope that something tangible comes out of these ceasefire talks or some kind of talks to end this once and for all, because this is going to a place of no return, and this is going to a place where it could have deeper repercussions not only for Palestine but also for the Middle East. Thank you very much, Dr. Farah Nasr, to have joined us, to have talked to us about this day 221 of this conflict between Israel and Palestine that we call genocide, that we call war against humanity, crimes against humanity, and of course all that ensues. Let's hope some good comes out of the talks that are happening in the coming days. Thank you very much, Dr. Farah Nasr, to have joined us. Let's come to our last two stories. The first is Melinda Gates, that is going to leave the Gates Foundation and is going to keep $12.5 billion as part of her compensation. We all know that Bill Gates and Melinda Gates were married. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was a joint effort of the two, but the two divorced some years back. But she continued to co-chair the foundation that they had set up. And of course, we all know what Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation does. It focuses on child poverty, preventable disease. But now there is professional separation as well between the two. And Melinda Gates will no longer be part of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The organization's chief executive, Mark Sussman, says the name would now change to simply the Gates Foundation. Bill Gates did thank his ex-wife for her critical contributions to the organization. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, a barber from Iraq, whose name is Hussein Faleh, has been turning heads online, not so much on the way that he has been cutting hairs of his clients, but it is what he does with the hair afterwards. He creates art on the floor of his shop, as you can see in the parallel windows, with the hair that he cuts of his clients. He says the idea of creating art with clients' hair came to him one day as he was sweeping the floor. He says he dreams of exhibiting his work of art created using hair from his clients in a gallery one day. He has created portraits of Cristiano Ronaldo, an image of Dubai's Burj Khalifa, and different animals, all of which are unfortunately soon swept away by his broom. But we hope to see his collection in an art gallery pretty soon, and we wish him all the very best. You know, art has no boundary, and art has no, you can create art in a very small place, in a huge gallery, in your room, or in the case of Mr. Faleh, in his barber shop. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of the day's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.